Are there any songs which sound great on albums but don't translate well to being played live or go down badly with the crowd? Asks Jay. For fucking years, you were bugging me to play Sky Babies live for fucking years. And obviously, in certain lineups, you can't because not everyone can learn a fucking 13-minute song. Well, when we had, I think it was Steady playing drums and John playing bass, I realised, these guys can learn long songs. So we learned Sky Babies. It took fucking ages to learn Sky Babies. And we played it and everybody hated it. I think even the people that asked for it hated it because it took so long. You could go to the bar, meet your friends, get pissed, go to the toilet, come back, and we're still fucking playing it. And everyone justifiably said, you could play 3 songs in the space of that one song. I agree. So that was the one thing that I would say, long songs don't always work live. No matter how much you want to hear Sky Babies, it fucking dies a death. And there might have been 2 or 3 people there who was like, oh, I'm in heaven, surrounded by a whole audience who's going, is this fucking song still on? But yeah, Sky Babies really didn't work and it took fucking ages to learn it. So yeah. Never again. This is from Rob. I would love to know more about your lyric writing process, please. Do you get some ideas before the melody or vice versa? Does every lyric have a meaning or are some just there to fill the gaps? None are there to fill the gaps. I don't like lyricists that just find rhymes with rhymes. There's always a rhyme for something. There's even a rhyme for orange, which is a place in Germany called Florange. And I think there's a surname that used to be used called Blorange. But, you can find a rhyme for anything. It just takes a little bit longer. It takes a bit more effort. And I do put a lot of effort into my lyrics. Is there a process? No. Sometimes you get a rhyme and couplet, like two lines that just rhyme, and you think, oh, it's really good. But then it holds you back because you've got to find something as good to follow it, which is not always the easiest thing in the world. And sometimes you'll have 2 lines that are so good, you can't use them because nothing else really fits. I always say that I write lyrics when I'm walking, and it is true. 99% true. Sometimes I'll sit here with a fucking a thesaurus and it, really pour over the lyrics. But 9 times out of 10, I write them when I go for a walk, and it all just seems to arrive. So some of them are after a melody. You get a nice melody or a nice, chorus line and go like, oh, that's going to work. Now I've got to find some lyrics. And sometimes the lyrics come first. You go, fuck, now I've got to find a chorus that's as good as the lyrics. But I really do pride myself on lyrics, and I don't do anything to fill gaps. Even if it might sound like I do, they all mean something. They're all very personal, and I never, ever, ever waste lyrics. I don't believe in it. Everyone else can do the way they want to do, and some people really do write shitty lyrics, but not me. For my personal standards, someone else might think they're shitty lyrics, but I've got a standard that I always try to maintain with lyrics, even if it's a B-side, even if it's just a piece of fluff. It's got to mean something to me. I've got to sign it off, and I can't sign it off unless it's made a lot of logical sense and rhyming sense, and it scans. Always been the same pain in the arse. Right. Owen asks, what songs are the most challenging to play live, and what are the typical items on your tour rider? And has it changed much over the years? Fucking hell. The songs that are most challenging to play live are always the new ones, especially when they're complex. And there's a few songs on the new album we've been playing, like Eventually, that are really complex, but they don't sound it. But you've got to learn to play them. You don't learn to play songs in the studio. And you don't really learn to play the songs in rehearsal. You learn to play the songs on stage in front of people, because that's when all of the training and all of the fucking rehearsal in the world goes out the window, and you're like, fuck, this is impossible to sing and play at the same time. Personally, I love those songs. I love putting myself in a position of abject terror on stage, and playing a new song you haven't really mastered yet. One of my favourite things. So they're the ones that are most challenging to play are the ones that you'll see me smiling through, because I'm really learning to walk in front of you lot, and I love it. I love it. And what are the typical items on your rider? Has it changed much over the years? Fucking hell. Oh, rider. People used to think that the Wildheart's rider was a piss take because we had so many bottles of Jack Daniels, bottles of absinthe, bottles of all sorts. And people used to say, like, well, okay, we'll get them, but there's no way you're going to drink that in a night. Every night we drank the Ryder dry. We'd get 8 bottles of Jack Daniels or something. But a bottle of Jack Daniels, you got to realise, went round for one round of drinks. If there was a couple of crew members there, it would barely last. We'd have a pint with Jack Daniels and Coke. And a bottle didn't go very far. So yeah, there was loads and loads of alcohol, but there was loads and loads of alcoholics. So we used to have a ridiculous Ryder, and now our Ryder is like red wine. There's beer. The crew like to drink beer. John likes a beer. Ben likes drinking beer, and we get some vodka for Dunk because he likes vodka. But yeah, the Ryders now. Fucking hell. Well, I try to maintain a keto diet, or if I'm not doing hardcore keto, I try and do like a high protein diet. So I will have cold meat and cheese. And I like having a glass of wine with my dinner. But even then, I won't drink before I go on stage now. Very rarely drink. I had a drink before the last gig in Southampton just to toast everyone. But I very rarely touch a drop before I go on stage. I hate being on stage under the influence of alcohol. The worst gigs I've ever played in my life have been when I've been drunk on stage. I've seen people you wouldn't believe drinking an amount of alcohol you wouldn't believe, and you wouldn't believe it because they tell everyone they're angels. But I've seen people caning it before they go on stage, and they still play, and I don't get it. Don't understand how you can play when you're pissed out of your head. I can't. I hate it. I hate not being in control. For me, it's all about being in the situation, making sure that you're doing the best job you possibly can, and taking into consideration the audience. And it's not lost on me the fact that everyone has had to go to work to make the money to buy a ticket. So I'm not going to be pissed out my head, but that's not to say I've never been pissed out my head on stage. It's just something I've never really done, no matter how sloppy my performance has been relatively sober. The Ryder has changed an awful lot. We had one tour where we asked for colourful underwear, because we were doing a gig in Newcastle and I couldn't develop the enthusiasm to get on stage for just one of them gigs. I was just tired. I called everyone. I called Andy Cairns. What do you do when you don't want to go on stage? I go out the front and I look at the amps before the band kick off, where it's just all black and you can see the red lights and the Marshall. I tried that, didn't work. I asked Olga from Toy Dolls, and he was, something else. None of it worked. I couldn't get on stage this one night, and I'm like, how can we do this? And the band all agreed. It was Scott Surrey was in the band, and we all agreed to allow ourselves to look like utter cunts. So we put our underwear on over our jeans, and it worked. It was so funny. You couldn't be in a bad mood if you were looking at someone else on stage and their underwear was over the jeans. It was brilliant. It was very effective. So for the rest of time, we asked for Pants of Power to be on the Ryder, and the Pants of Power had to be colourful. The more ridiculous the better, but it had to be colourful. You've no idea how little imagination some of these fucking venues had, because you get grey underpants. What's so fucking funny about grey underpants? No one give us like crazy underpants, and we stopped doing it because they were all so fucking boring. But we kept the underpants and socks made on the Ryder, so he could go do a show, get sweaty as fuck, go and have a shower, chuck the underpants and socks away. I used to love doing that. Yeah, our Ryder's pretty basic now. Very basic. You'd probably be, surprised how boring it is. And John asks, is the current incarnation of the Wildheart a fully fledged band setup? Yes, it very much is. The first couple of gigs that we did on this tour, we were finding our feet. The first one, I think we were just trying to play it together. Second one, we were using in-ear monitors, and it was really off-putting, especially when you're playing with people you'd never played with. So we were just like, fuck the in-ear monitors off. Let's just go old school, have the fucking monitors in the front of the stage, stick a fucking thing in your ear so you can pitch and try and sing over the volume of a fucking loud band. And Charles, I'm standing in front of that fucker, and he's loud. He's fucking loud. So between him and the audience, it's funny because halfway through I burst my hernia. So for the last 4 or 5 gigs on this last tour, I was singing with a hernia, burst hernia, and again, you don't want to complain on stage. You want to front it out and be fucking tough guy. So I didn't let anyone know about fucking hell having to sing so loud to get your voice in the monitors to get over all of the noise. I burst my hernia again. I'm a bit too honest for my own good, but that was something I thought you should know. I was in fucking agony, and I didn't show it, I like to think. But is it a fully fledged band lineup? Really, yes. I think the band, as soon as we went back on old school monitors, really gelled. By a couple of gigs into the tour, we just felt like we've been playing for ages. Everybody really rose to the occasion. I think everyone in the audience agreed that it was such a great bunch of people playing. It didn't seem like it was new. And it didn't seem like it's new. Only difference in the band setup is we had Carol Hodge playing hidden keyboards. I think I've explained in the past. I wanted someone who's just going to fly a few samples in, no big deal. And Carol said she wanted to do it. Way too good for the job, but she wanted to do it. And she was hiding behind the screen, and I hated it. But I didn't want to introduce a new lineup as a 5-piece. That would have just been, it defeated the purpose. And like I say, I'm always 10 steps ahead of whatever we're doing. So I thought the only fair thing was to say, this is a 4-piece band. It's replacing the last 4-piece band, and everyone can kind of get comfortable with that idea. There's not too much to think about. Is it good? For the next album, I want Carol to be more involved. So I'm going to push it as a 5-piece band, very much with Carol's involvement and Carol's voice. I fucking absolutely love and adore that woman. And she'd proven herself a few times on this tour to be very, very special, very lovely person and energy on so many levels. So yeah, I want that to feature more in the next lineup. Now I know I'm walking into a barrage of unhappy people saying, well, I prefer the last lineup when it was a 4. I just prefer the last album, and I'm prepared for that as well. But yeah, it's a fully fledged band. The only difference is we're going to introduce Carol more on the next album. Dickie Jim from the Black Country. My 2 favourite living songwriters are you and Frankie Stubbs. Fucking love Leatherface. What is it about the Northeast that produces such wondrous tunes? And an honourable mention for Mr. Willie Dowland too. And rightly so, because Willie's a great writer. One of the best writers, I think, to come out of the Northeast, even though he's got a posh accent. But he's very good at doing a Geordie accent. What is it about the Northeast that produces such wondrous tunes? I think couple of reasons. A, you're not allowed to get above your station because people will just pull you back down. So people tend to stay quite grounded if they're from the Northeast. Otherwise, you're not going to last very long. But because of the history, Lindisfarne, I think, how great Lindisfarne, Alan Hull in particular, but how great Lindisfarne were. If you're from the Northeast, you know of Lindisfarne. If you're too young to remember Lindisfarne being around, you're aware of them. And they were described as the UK's version of the band. The Levon Helm, Bob Dylan's backing band kind of thing. And I thought that was a really good description for them, comparison, because they had this really earthy, very authentic sound with these amazing songs, really intelligent lyrics, and fantastic harmonies, great arrangements. And I think when you've got that kind of heritage in the Northeast, you got to be good. And I think that's what made, even though you got a lot of writers who don't sound like Lindisfarne. I don't think Frankie Stubbs sounds a lot like Alan Hull. I don't think Leatherface sound a lot like Lindisfarne, but you got to be good. Your lyrics have got to be good. It's an industrial place. There's no time for fantasy. You're not going to find a lot of people from Newcastle singing about, riding down the highway with a girl on the back of the bike. That's not going to happen. You're going to sing from the miners and the industrial workings of the place, the shipbuilding and stuff, to getting out of the Northeast maybe. But it's never going to be fantasy. It's probably the reason why I don't like fantasy lyrics, Lady Godiva and dragons. I never met a dragon in I woke up with a couple. Only kidding. And there was no Lady Godiva. Too fucking cold for Lady Godiva in Newcastle. But I think that's the reason there's a heritage there that is very understated. A lot of the great writers and great singers, the rest of the country, let alone the world, ever really heard about. But you can't be a slouch. If you're going to be anything from Newcastle, the standard's pretty high. So that's what I put down to the fact that there's so many good writers come from there. Dave Sturdy from Teesside says, have you ever had a Parmo, a Teesside delicacy? I haven't. And I'm going to go and Google it now as soon as I've finished this. But I've never had a Parmo. I don't think I've had a Parmo, and I will get back to you if I ever have, and I just can't remember. Have you seen Cheap Trick live? Fuck me, yeah, loads of times. Loads of great stories of Cheap Trick live. One of the first times, I mean, I've seen them play with Motley Crue. They supported Motley Crue. Talk about a support band making the headline band look like they'd made a bad decision having them support. I mean, Cheap Trick were amazing. Motley Crue were Motley Crue, like as good as it gets, I guess. But fucking Cheap Trick went on them. They didn't clean the stage with them. They fucking wiped the whole fucking town with them. They made them look absolutely ridiculous, which I'm sure Motley Crue don't look ridiculous if they get the support band right. I'd seen them in Long Island with Alex Kane and my friend Nightbob. Now, Nightbob claimed that he knew Cheap Trick from back in the day, and, with Nightbob, he's been doing this forever. He was New York Dolls, Soundman, Aerosmith Soundman, Kiss's Soundman back in the day. You're like, oh, he probably does. Maybe we can get in on the guest list. Well, we were waiting by the backstage door, and Cheap Trick pulled up in their limousines, and Rick Nielsen and Robin Zander got out, and the first thing they said was, "Hey, Nightbob." And that was just one of those gigs where obviously we got in for nothing, but we were treated like kings. Got to speak to them after the show for the first time, and that was beautiful. And I'd met Rick Nielsen another time when we supported the Darkness, but it wasn't like we were friends. And I got an assignment to review for Kerrang! Cheap Trick at Shepherd's Bush Empire. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Or the only proviso is the scribbles that filled in the box for 5 out of 5 go beyond the box. So I want 6 out of 5. And they agreed to that. And that was enough for me. I went to see Cheap Trick. I was in the balcony. I wasn't even front row. I was just in the balcony. And Rick Nielsen was like, "Hey, it's great to see these people up, everyone turn up here. And hey, look, there's Ginger Wildheart in the balcony." He was already getting 6 out of 5. But fuck me, it just turned into one of the most amazing gigs. How the hell he remembered me and then saw me. I mean, I've been on stage, you can't see the balcony. You can barely see past the first few rows. But he saw me and he didn't even know I was reviewing it. I hope he liked the review. I'm sure he did. As you can imagine, a fairly good review. But they, Cheap Trick are just one of these bands that you literally don't know what they're going to play because they're that good. They can play any of their songs. There's no studio trickery. There's no Robin Zander singing out of his range and pitch correcting the song to suit the notes. Robin Zander can sing it all and does. And Cheap Trick are always great. Every now and again, they're really great. Most of the time, they're just fucking exceptional. One of those bands that really can do it live. One of the best live bands I've ever seen. Top 3, I think. Will there be more live shows this year? I fucking hope so. Why was the Northeast excluded from the current run? I reckon it was only because they're keeping it for later, but I couldn't understand. I want to play the Northeast this year. I want to play London this year. So yeah, I want to put more gigs in at the end of the year. By hook or by crook, I plan on doing that. I want to get back out with this band immediately. They're a fantastic live band and a great bunch to tour with. And I can't stand the idea of promoting the album not in Newcastle or not in fucking London. We played London last year, but it was before the album came out. I want people to hear us doing these songs live. So yeah, we will play London and we will play Newcastle. I've no idea why we didn't, but I'm sure it was keeping it to get a bigger venue maybe. All I know is I'd love to play Newcastle City Hall and I'd love to play Hammersmith Odeon. So maybe we can upgrade the venues and do that. But I don't know. That's just me thinking. That's not me telling you any plans, nothing like that. And the last question, you're very artistic, so maybe do more art. Well, I don't like doing art. I did art recently because I was given the job from the record company, from Dante, who wanted to use my art because he knows I've been artistic in the past. And I thought, yeah, why not? And then we started to learn how to do that. I had to figure out how to make collages and use my love of like Dada artwork. And I tried my best to do some artwork and realized that it's a bit like doing music. You don't do it for the money. And I was commissioned to do the artwork for the album, but I was only doing artwork because of the excitement of working from home. So I can do artwork, but I don't enjoy it. Not really. Not for no reason. And I think if you're going to do anything in life and you don't love it and you wouldn't do it for nothing, you're fucked. So yeah, if you wouldn't do it for free, stop doing it, and take my own advice there. So I don't enjoy doing artwork that much. Thank you very much for another one of these. I've really enjoyed it. I hope I haven't upset too many people. I'm sure I've upset a few people, but you know, that's what the truth does. See you very soon. Bye.